Jasmine, you have a disparity here, though,
no,
don't you?
let me finish. That when you're 25, your rate of your relationship with the father, I'm presuming, goes up by 50%. Have children.
Right. Well, then you have no fucking argument.
We can do this all day.
All you're doing is reading. And the materialist outcome, according to you, is yes, we'll have less children, but we're going to hopefully give them a better quality of life. How's that conducive to your utilitarian worldview? What you just outlined is a eugenics program.
But if you just want to yell at each other, then let's just yell at each other. That can be the debate. I'm fine with that.
I mean, you're a prostitute.
So Black women can choose to have kids 25 and up too, and trying to get a college education is still going to be better. That advice is also for Black women and for white women. Now, if you can't achieve those things, I'm not telling you shouldn't have children. That's a completely different claim.
Wait, Jasmine, you have a disparity here, though, don't you?
Let me finish. The question is, should women wait until they're older in order to have children, or should they do it young?
Yeah.
I'm saying that the data shows that the children born to older women, especially if those women are educated, tend to do much better, and the women themselves tend to do much better.
And if we break down,
I would give that advice.
And as I'm looking, but as I'm looking at this, do you agree that the later in life, even educated, that Black women's children, even educated, have worse outcomes than white people's children, even educated, when they're older?
If there's, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what the data
right.
indicates.
So then, using this logical metric that you have of better outcomes, wouldn't you say that it would be better for them then, if they're going to have worse outcomes, to not have the children?
No, I don't think people that have worse outcomes should not have children.
Right. Well, then you have no fucking argument. Then you have no argument.
I'd let you finish your as valid of a source as you can get.
Keep screeching.
It's other mouth. Yeah. Okay. You talk louder. We can do this all day.
All you're doing is reading.
Something-year-old man. It doesn't look as stupid for me to come play this shit online.
You have not. I mean, you're a prostitute. What do you mean? You can't make any bad claims about what I do online?
You're sitting here, of all the things that you could
You would hump your sister for money. Like, what are you talking about? How could you possibly make any claims against me?
You're sitting here, of all the things you could be doing, of all the people you could be doing, you're sitting here having a debate.
You requested the debate. I didn't reach out for a debate with you.
Because if you're having a kid, unless you want to have a kid without a father, I'm assuming that you also are advocating for two parents that are probably married, or their relationship has a higher likelihood of working out. I would say that if you wait until you're at least 25, and the statistics back me up, that when you're 25, your rate of your relationship with the father, I'm presuming, goes up by 50%, that you should
Is that across all demographic lines? Is that across all racial? Jasmine, is that across all racial demographic lines?
That's the general statistic. Now,
we would have to isolate it by Hispanics, African Americans. We'd have to isolate it by all types of different demographic groups, right?
Well, okay, so one, we have to talk about what's young. I wouldn't say women should wait till they're 40 if they want to have kids. I would say between 25 to 35 are the ages that I'm looking at. And most children, although they may have slightly worse health outcomes than women who have children at 18, and they can have less kids than women who have kids at 18, I never advocated for 40 and over. I think between 25 to 35, and that is still very good ages to have children, and you're not even a high-risk pregnancy.
You are a much higher risk pregnancy in those time periods. So the reason that I know that, I'm showing it on my screen right now. No, I'm showing it right now. There was a statistical distinction. Okay, even
Andrew, we can't see your Andrew. We can't see.
You can look it up on cdc.org right now.
Okay, tell me, how big was that statistical difference between a woman having a kid at 20 and 25?
They notated it as significant, which means it's more than deviation.
you're only looking at the likelihood of having a birth problem when the vast majority of women up to age 35 have kids perfectly fine, and those kids are going to have a much better outcomes, be much more, score way higher on their tests.
So
they're going to have higher socioeconomic
I need to know
status.
that it's
Their outcomes are gonna be
significant.
better.
I need to know that the outcomes are significant, that the rating is, hang on, that the rating, I just shared it, cdc.gov, you can look up this information. Also, peak fertility according to them, okay, is 22 through 25. That would be the peak fertility for females. Not only that, let's move into the fact that this, you making women wait because you supposedly want better outcomes, has led to a reproduction crisis inside of this nation, where our birth rates are under replacement rates because we're not moving towards having children when we're younger, but rather looking for a materialist outcome. And the materialist outcome, according to you, is yes, we'll have less children, but we're going to hopefully give them a better quality of life. How's that conducive to your utilitarian worldview?
If your goal is to have children that actually thrive, and for you to be in the best position to be the best mother to your child, be the most stable, and have the most likelihood of your relationship lasting with the child's father, you should wait till you are older.
Your advice actually leads to a worse societal outcome of the society itself not being able to reproduce itself, and you're negating the fact that the health and welfare of the child and the woman is put at a much higher risk the longer they wait.
No, the health of the child long term. So the risk is about 1 in 1,250. This is from Stanford Medicine Children's Health. 1 in 1,250 for a woman who conceives at age 25. So this idea that you need to be having kids at 18, otherwise your kids are going to be.
I didn't say 18.
You're going to have this high risk. 20 even. And if you're 25, you have less than 1.
What did I say the peak fertility years were?
I let you finish. I'm trying to let you finish.
Well, don't straw man the argument. What's my?
But I'm trying to see.
I just want you to give my argument. That's it.
No, okay, fine. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this because I actually the last 2 times I'm like, let me try to let you finish, and maybe you'll extend the same to me. Even though I think you were going totally off topic too. But if you just want to yell at each other, then let's just yell at each other. That can be the debate. I'm fine with that. My point is that. Yeah, well, I was trying. In our current society, telling people to pop out kids when they can't take care of them, when those kids are going to be poor, when those kids don't have a bright future, I don't think is a good idea. And that's the thing. If you want to, our society right now is built on people needing, for the most part, to actually graduate school, to be able to buy a home. Those kinds of things are important and over for you and your children to flourish. So for you to say, fuck all that, because our birth rates are declining, everyone pop out kids as soon as you can and have as many as possible, I don't think going to lead to better outcomes.
So poor people shouldn't have kids. That's the entailment.
I don't think poor people shouldn't have kids, but I do wish that poor people would have less kids than they are having.
Well, I just want to ask this one question. How can you take the contrary position to itself and say, poor people shouldn't have less kids? I just wish that poor people would have less kids.
I wish that, but that doesn't mean they should do what I wish.
Yeah, but they should, because remember, your morals is all about your preferences. What do you mean?
Yes, I would say it's actually worse for society because those people are overrepresented in the amount of people who are seeking government assistance, food stamps, they're on welfare because they can't afford to take care of their kids. Now, while I can't tell poor people what they should and shouldn't do, I wish personally, as a person living in this society, although I still think their freedom to have kids and their autonomy outweighs my preferences, I think it's better if poor people or people who can't afford to take care of their kids would stop having them at that rate.
Well, poor doesn't entail that you're not going to take care of your kids. That's one. But two, what you've just outlined is a eugenics program.
Poor people that have a lot more kids do tend to ask the government for resources to take care of those kids at higher rates.
What do you
say they're incapable
wait?
Of taking
you don't
care
think
of
that the
kids.
Government should provide for poor people's children?
I didn't say that. But my advice to those people, or my preference, would be that people would think harder before having kids, that they don't have the money to take care of.
So then your preference is that poor people no longer have children.
I never said that.
Well, then I don't understand how you can hold these two worldviews.
My preference is if you're not, yes, I will say this, because not all poor people are also seeking government assistance. So that's also something to consider. But if you're somebody who's having a kid or you're choosing to have a kid, now if it just happens, it's an accident, but if you're able to make a choice, because we're talking about choice here, right? And if you're able to take precautions or to wait or to use protection, if you're not able or ready to take care of that kid and you're going to rely on the government to take care of the kid, I would prefer if you didn't have the kid, but it's not my decision to make.
Yeah, so your preference, again, just to summarize, is that poor people did not have children. Yeah, so what is the metric that you would use then for when you're out of the poorhouse and actually, in Jasmine's worldview, capable of taking care of a child?
I would say one good way is when you don't need government assistance to do it.
So no people on government assistance should have children.
I would, yeah.
So congratulations, you have just eliminated most of the black people from the United States, Jasmine.
The way you're phrasing it, I just said it's not my decision, but my advice to those people and my preference is that if you are too poor to take care of the child, and you can do things to prevent having a child, like using protection or choosing to wait until you're older, that is better not only for the child, for you, and for society. So yes, my preference is that people do what's better for all three, for the mother, for the child, for the father, and for society.
I want you to understand what you just said. What you just said to me when I asked you this question is, you said, my preference would be if they're on any sort of government or state assistance, my preference is that they don't have children. Why do you want to do that? I don't
want them to have kids. I would think it's better for them to have kids in better circumstances. So I think we should be pushing education in those places. We should be giving them better educational opportunities, giving them more resources so that they don't make those decisions, giving them better sex education, because those things are also heavily correlated with people having unwanted pregnancies.
Well,
I want to prevent unwanted pregnancies.
Sure, you could say that. You could say that you want to extend
from having kids before they're ready to have kids.
Yeah, so you can say that you want to extend all these things, right? I wish that we could get past it by offering X, Y, and Z. But in the current society, that is not the way that it is set up, right? They're not being offered X, Y, and Z. So in the current society, Jasmine's preference is that black people, for the most part, don't have children.
Are most black people on government assistance? Because that's what the logical conclusion of your thing. Because you just said, I said most black people shouldn't have children. I just said, and if you even want to go by your warped interpretation of what I said that if you need government assistance to take care of your child. So you're saying most black people? That's new to me. Most black people who have children are on government assistance? That's different than saying they're on government assistance at higher rates than white people. But that's not the same thing, Andrew.
So again, let's just assume for a second.
What do you mean again? Answer what I just said.
I'm going to. Let's assume for a second that it's only, 20% or 15%, and that whites, let's just assume for white people it's only 5%. We'll just assume that for the sake of the hypothetical, right? It's higher than that, but let's just assume, okay? If that is true, then you would be, if we entailed your preference out to the rest of society, essentially be disproportionately telling one race over the other that they shouldn't have children, Jasmine.
That would be a disparate outcome of my advice, right?
Yeah.
Just like if I say, this should be the limits, this should be the test you need to go in to get into the military, and it may disproportionately negatively impact women because women aren't able to achieve that as much as other people or men are able to achieve it. It has a unequal outcome, but the advice is facially neutral in the sense that it is better and it is, I think, good to prevent unwanted pregnancies and to have children when you are able to take care of them. Now, even though it's true that this affects black people more than others, I think it would be good. I think it would be a good outcome for the black community to stop having all these children when they're too young and they're not able to take care of them, when they don't have the the sexual education to know how to prevent these pregnancies, when they're on poverty, they're on welfare, they're on food stamps, because that's just perpetuating a cycle where those kids don't thrive. Their kids are more likely to be teen parents. And it's just doing this long cycle. Whereas if they said, okay, I'm actually going to wait. I'm going to wait till I'm like Michelle Obama and have 2 kids and those kids are going to thrive. Now I know she's an anomaly. Then I think that's better. Yes.
I have nothing else to say on the topic. Let us stand with that.
I'll let it stand with that too. We can go into closing statements, but I think that's totally a sound advice.
Okay.
And I'm okay with the audience taking that as it is.
Me too.
Right.
Me too.
That was a quick one.